Aloha, namaste. This is Alexis Cox with Radha Home Yoga, and I'm here to bring you your new moon forecast. Our new moon is happening this Friday morning in the really early hours here, Pacific time. It's going to be 3:37 a.m. in California on the 30th. So we're nearing the end of the month here, and we're moving into a new cycle. A new moon is a new cycle. It's when the sun and moon come together in exact degrees in a sign, and this time it's the sign of Leo. Get ready for a very, very big 2 weeks and even whole month cycle. We will have the full moon, which will counterbalance that halfway through the full moon, or halfway through this new moon cycle, but this is going to be a very big month. And the reason is because Leo is a sign that goes big. It's a sign where we are all sort of kings and queens and lions and lionesses, and we really just want to get our message out there, get our energy out there. We want to be leaders, we want to have followers, and we want to be kind of, standing in our power. It's beautiful on so many levels. There's a lot of ways in which we can really step into our own. We can step into ourselves and our identity in our careers, on any stages we might, stand on in our lives, any ways in which we lead people or we are, needing that authoritative presence. It's a great time for that. The moon and sun will both be in the star of Magha. Magha is that part of Leo at the very beginning where we call in the knowledge and the wisdom of our ancestors, where we're bringing in that ancient wisdom, that ancient lineage that brings forth our rule today. And that's, in my opinion, the most powerful part of Leo, because it's the part where you're connecting to what really is the point of being a leader, the point of being a king, a queen, the point of ruling over anything is to make it better for all the people that are going to be under that umbrella, for any being, not a person necessarily, that's going to be under that umbrella. So how we rule needs to come from something that is, true, something that has a true, reality at its grain, at its core, something that has lineage that's been practiced through time so that it's proven to actually, work and help people, and something that has that, there's a wisdom that comes from children just in the fact that they're so innocent that they have almost no choice but to listen to others. As we become older and older, we become kind of these know-it-alls, and we think we know everything, and we don't listen, and we just, when we do hear what someone's saying, we're just thinking of how it fits in our own knowledge, in our own boxes, and our own ways of viewing the world. Rarely do we have those conversations where we're really, opening up a new portal within ourselves and sort of adding on to our knowledge. That's, in my opinion, an ideal conversation, but less and less does that happen, especially with the internet and Facebook and all these different ways you can just kind of anonymously say your little piece that just shows your little sliver of the world without really expanding your worldview. Children are constantly expanding their worldview. That's what they do. And the part of Magha, or the part of Leo that is Magha, is kind of like the child of the king, because it's the place where you're first like, hey, ancestors, those who came before me, which many other cultures, not necessarily ours, here in America, but many other cultures have a lot of reverence for their ancestors and a lot of reverence for those who walked before them on the land, because those people knew something, right? Just by having been there before them. Just like old people know something that young people don't, just because they've literally been on the earth longer. Doesn't mean they're an old soul and they're really wise. They could be very shallow. They could be very new soul energy as an old person, but there's still some things they've learned in those 70 or 80 or 90 years on earth that somebody who's 20 or 30 doesn't know. And so that's kind of what this Magha is about. It's calling in the knowledge of those who've been before you. But even higher than that, it's the Pitris, it's the original ancestors of mankind. And in the Hawaiian mythology and cosmology, they have the Amakua. The ancestors are literally very much tied to the gods, who are the Akua. So that tie of king and ancestor to God, to literal, immortal being and immortality itself is what makes that connection between a leader and the greater good, the greater causes that they're trying to serve and solve, as being pure and not being rooted in selfish desires and things they want to get: control, money, greed, power, sexual desires, whatever the many things are that we might use our power for. A good king, a good queen is coming from what's right for the people, what's right for all that are out there, and how are we going to make this a world and a community that works, and not just our own selfish pleasures, not just our own selfish wants and needs. Now, this part of Leo can also lead us to finding, not as good of teachings. It can lead us to ancestry, lineages, and things that either are sort of false or made up or based on somebody's ego. It can lead us to ancestral pasts that are not positive, as many of us from European lineage hold. It can hold us down to ways that are just stuck and always being done and not breaking through new horizons, which the opposite sign, Aquarius, is where we sort of break free into new horizons and really try to do what's good for all. So there's going to be that opposition halfway through the month when the full moon comes, and that will be an opportunity for us to reflect on that, to reflect on our power and how we're using it in all those different facets of it as the moon moves further into the month. And as the sun moves further into the sign of Leo, we'll see, parts of us that are kind of selfish, parts of us that want power for personal gain, that are driven by desire, that are driven by, all these other things, as opposed to what's good, what's right, how can we be the best us. So the reason this month is so big, beyond just being in Leo and beyond being in this Magha star, is that Venus and Mars and Mercury are all joined our new moon here. So we have the moon, the sun, Venus, Mars, and Mercury all here in Leo. That's a lot of lion. That's every aspect of ourselves that interacts with others, that is in that relational give and take, is basically in this sign. So it's not great for relationships. It's not great for the give and take that comes in relationships, and not just romantic relationships, but relationships at work, with your friends, anyone. It's that part of us that does kind of stand up and be teachers and leaders. And if everyone's doing that, and it's not just one particular personality, then there's no one to really follow or listen. If both people in a relationship are, taking their moment on stage and wanting to be, the queen and king bee, and really not honoring or listening or taking humility and things like that, it can be very challenging. Now, obviously, some people naturally have more of that energy, and some people are naturally more humble and more likely to take back. Those who are naturally more humble and are, maybe don't have any planets in Leo themselves, might feel slighted, though. They might want to be standing on stage. They might want to be in the spotlight. They might want things to be on them, and it's not something they're as good at. And if someone else is really good at taking that power and taking that energy and taking that limelight, they'll probably naturally just step back, just because that's, what they do. But it will push them and, kind of make them angry, and they might end up fighting back. They might end up standing their ground for the first time. They might end up standing in their own power for the first time, and that would surprise somebody who was already, a really powerful person and used to holding court. So it's going to be a challenging time for relationships. I said this in the last forecast as we were moving into this cycle. We were in the full moon, and the sun was still in Cancer. Now it's in Leo, and we're really, we're really full on right now. Venus, the relationship sign, is also our sign of happiness. It's how we present ourselves in an artistic sense. It's kind of like, the clothes you wear, the way you take care of yourself, all those different things. So, you're out there taking care of yourself now. Maybe you're realizing you need to put yourself first and do all these different things to care for yourself. But at the same time, you may be less aware of other people's needs and what other people might want and need. And maybe you just spent all that time in Cancer giving and giving and giving, and now you're feeling a little bit self-righteous about it, like, hey, I'm going to do for myself, and I'm going to stand up for myself. And that's okay. But again, it's challenging in relationships, because relationships work best with a lot of give and take, not with a lot of power struggles and standing up, and suddenly becoming sort of dictatorial or, trying to overpower the other person. Because most people, when faced, even children, when faced with a lack of power, tend to feel clamped down and retaliate. They're not like, oh, okay, no problem, I'll go do that. They're gonna have a different response. So trying to be agreeable can be hard, but worth a shot. Mercury is our other planet that really works with us in relationship. There's a lot of give and take in communication. There's a lot of give and take with information. And it's way that we talk to the people that we're having relationships with, is that Mercury. So we need to be aware of the fact that we're going to have fiery speech. We're going to probably want to teach people and show people things, and we might have a little bit of a short fuse with Mars being there also. So we need to take care that we're actually teaching and sharing, that we're not just taking whatever we just learned and throwing it out there at people. And also that we're, having a little bit of capacity to listen to, because really teachers are not very effective if they're not listening and paying attention to what is and is not working for others. So if somebody's not responding to what you're teaching, you need to try a new method. Lording over somebody or forcing someone to do something is not usually the way that people make things happen. If you really want somebody to change their behavior, as most parents know, or should be in the process of learning, you have to actually change your own behavior. And then by example, they might be able to see, oh, wow, that does look easier. Or, oh, look how healthy that person is. That person looks really healthy right now. Maybe I want to be healthy too. Or that smoothie they're making every day looks great. Maybe I'll have a smoothie, instead of every day trying to cram a smoothie into somebody's hand who really wants eggs and bacon. So it's kind of a different approach of teaching than just being didactic and dictatorial, and being a little bit more effective with what it is you're trying to share. And being a true leader, because being a true leader is somebody who actually does what they say, not just tells everyone else what to do and then does whatever they want on the side. So that's really, we have enough of those kind of leaders right now in the world, so we can all try to be a little bit different. So Mars, like I mentioned, is also in this mix right now, and Venus is definitely combust, and Mars is even more combust. Mars is within, actually Mercury is combust too, so they're all really close to the sun, which means that they all have kind of a short fuse. So if you're not feeling appreciated and you're not feeling, loved and honored in your relationship and put up on the pedestal you deserve to be put on, you're gonna be like, go away. Or if it's a new relationship, you could end it. If it's a long relationship, just give them this silent treatment and go do something else, or try to flirt with someone else to make them jealous. Whatever the different ways you might respond to that. If somebody's talking and you don't think they're listening to you, or you're not able to convince them of your view, and that annoys you, you're gonna have a short fuse with that. You're gonna have a short fuse with Mars energy, which is the hardest, because it's already sort of our short fuse. It's our anger, and it's our passion, and it's our action. So, you got to really look out for that. Mars is in good dignity in Leo, so there's a lot of opportunity to funnel that through physical action and enthusiasm and that higher purpose that the Leo has. So you can really, get into whatever your activity is that you really like to do, whatever your sport or hobby or exercise or just regular discipline routine is. You can really have a chance to embrace it and go for it. But you also have to be careful with that short fuse, that anger, especially with those relational planets that are Venus and Mercury. It can happen quick. Fuse is short, you made me mad, blah, 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 blah. And the Leo Mercury is not stopping to think about what it's saying before it's saying it. It is out. And it is usually not, that convoluted emotional thing that happens when Mercury's in Cancer or in Pisces, not when it's in Leo. It's clear, it's concise, and it's, intense, fiery, and big, lion, like, roar. So things to watch out for. All those planets there in Leo are, kind of right around the middle of it. So they're going to be there for a while, and they're all hanging out really close. So this is, again, just that time to really look at what you want to bring out into the world. Great time for your business ventures, for really finding the ways you want to lead in the world. And maybe a time for you and your partners to just discuss ways that you guys can be copacetic, ways you can take care of yourselves, and ways you can kind of actively focus on listening and give and take and those kind of things that might not come as naturally right now. We still have Jupiter in Scorpio, and it's right in the line of fire from Mars, first of all. So Mars is giving drishti to Jupiter in Scorpio. Scorpio is Mars' own sign, so it's giving confidence, it's giving courage, it's giving discipline to our sign of wisdom and teachings. That's in already good dignity in Scorpio. So with Jupiter there, we have a big chance to go, dive in deep. And I've been talking about this kind of the whole transit that we've had Jupiter there. It's a really great time for self-reflection and to really dive into our shadows and really see where we're coming up short instead of just what we want other people to be doing. So it's a powerful alignment, especially now that Jupiter's direct again. So we're feeling more confidence and more forward action with our beliefs, with our inspirations, with our teachings and our spirituality and anything that moves us in that way. Mars giving its angle there can make us a little more cut, a little more, quick and quick to cut. It can also give us that discipline we need for the daily practice, the daily work that needs to be done when you are going through the shadow. Just like if you're doing yoga asana every day, you need to bring that same level of discipline to personal reflection and other forms of seeking wisdom and trying to find yourself as a spiritual being. That discipline is good in all areas of that. It's necessary. The showing up every day, that's what gets things done. That's why action happens with Mars, because when you show up and do something again and again and again, results occur. They don't occur when it's sort of this, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe I feel up, maybe I feel down, maybe I feel up, maybe I feel down. That's one of the issues with Scorpio, is that sort of emotional roller coaster can bring you in and out and in and out and in and out. Whereas Mars just, can really bring that powerful daily practice. That's really what we want more than anything. And the more we can channel that energy there, the clearer our mind will be for all the other things. And maybe we really will speak amazing, inspirational things that will move people. Maybe our own actions will be so powerful other people want to follow, because that's the kind of leader we want to be. It's the kind of leaders we need. Saturn is still retrograde with the South Node in Saturn. So in Sagittarius. So we still have that, that part of us that's hesitating on committing. What do we actually say we're going to do and choose we're going to do? It's a scary time for that, for those commitments, and still a lot of fear driving those choices or lack of choices. There's a lot of fear there. And Saturn and Ketu are actually right now in exact degrees. So they're both really, you're really seeing that withdrawal from Ketu and that sort of disgust and distaste mixed with that heavy fear from Saturn and that pressure, which is the big thing that we really feel more than anything with Saturn is just this immense pressure that things have to be done because of time, because time is limited. So hopefully this is helpful and you can find some grains here to help you move forward through the month. We're going to have that full moon. That'll give us our counterpoint halfway through the month, and we'll realize the ways in which we've been a little too strong or too dictatorial, too much wanting to lead and not enough listening and not enough capacity to just do a little following also. So hope this is a great new moon, a great start, and namaste.